Welcome to the Ambient iPad. In this video, I'm going to make some ambient bass sounds using the Boss GT1000Core Multieffects unit. The signal chain is a Fender American original 60s precision bass. Its good old-fashioned mono output goes into one of the inputs on the GT1000Core. The stereo output from the GT1000 goes into a universal audio Volt 276 interface that communicates back and forth with the iPad Pro. The only thing I'm using the iPad Pro for is recording. I've got GarageBand set up. Everything is flat. I do have Spatializer on just to expand the stereo field a little. Even though the GT1000 Core is a stereo unit, if you're just going into one input, even some of the stereo sounds will come out as mono. So Spatializer just again expands the stereo field a little. Some of the effects are in stereo, so I don't want to make it sound like just because you plug it in mono that's all you get. Now there are tons and tons of videos and explanations and demos that dive deep into the GT1000 Core. The unit's been out for many years, a number of years. I've had it since then. I love it. Oftentimes, this is all I use. It's very portable, and you can get some great, excellent sounds, and I'll demonstrate some of those as well. And it's not just made for guitar. There are specific models in there for bass, particularly in modulation. There's a bass chorus. There's overdrives, distortions that are specifically voiced for bass. There's amps that are for the bass. So you can really go deep in using this specifically for the bass. I use it for the Mellotron as well. But there's definitely a lot of capabilities in here. And again, I encourage you to explore all the tons of videos out there that'll dive deep into this. So to start, let me just give you a taste of what the straight sound is, classic precision with 60s style pickups. So I'm using flatwound strings, by the way. I use flatwound strings on all my basses, but you'll hear it's not like it's a muddy sound. You can definitely EQ it. And actually, flats can be fairly bright. And these are not new flats. I've had this bass for probably 3 years, and I put those strings on the same day I got it. And they still sound fine. So here's the straight sound. So kind of your classic. Precision bass fits in with everything. So over to the GT1000 Core. Again, I have tons of patches I've set up here. You have 3 buttons or 3 foot switches, so you can turn specific effects on and off. You can mute, tuner, you can go up between patches, but I really use this more as like a live unit. So I set up the patches with different slots. The one I have up here that I just want to demonstrate kind of some of the everyday sounds you can use with the bass. I've got a chorus, a phaser, and a delay on the foot switches, but I have a compressor going all the time, very light. It's a Boss compressor modeled on one of their modern ones that I think uses their MDP, the processing technology that they use on some of their pedals. And I do have some kind of clean amp modulation model going, but it's very subtle. And I have that mainly more for the amp EQ than anything else. All right, I've been going on and on here. But let's start again. Clean sound. Let me add, here's some chorus. Oh, and I should add that I've tried to take video of the GT1000 and the screen is just bright and washed out. So I have some screenshots going on up here, and at least you can get a flavor for what the settings are. So again, chorus. Now with multi-effects with bass, I find I really need a mix knob. As long as there's a mix knob, I can work with any effects unit. And so on this, probably 50% between the wet-dry sound. And I use low chorus settings, low rate, low depth. So it almost has a bit of a flanger sound to it. There's not as much of that kind of modulation movement that you often get with chorus. And again, I use it kind of low, and it's almost like a cross between a chorus and a flanger. All right. The other modulation effect I use a lot is phaser. This is modeled on a Boss phaser. But it's nice and warm. You can change the amount of, obviously, the rate, the speed, regeneration, the feedback, and the stages. This is probably a 6-stage chorus, I believe. chorus phaser. And finally, some delay. Now, the GT1000 Core, and even the floor pedal, they have 4 delays built in and a master delay. So yes, you can have 5 delays going on in the same patch. This is one of those kind of standard delays of the 4 that they have. It's a digital delay. I've, you know, a little damping on the high frequencies, but let's give it some phaser too. So there you go. A lot of cool basic sounds. Now let me go down to more of an ambient patch that I've created. This will use, I have a compressor just because sometimes there's not enough sound to trigger some of the other sounds that I'll be using, and other times it just gets wild. So the compressor does control it, although I'm not going to turn it on, and I'm going to see what happens. The other 2 main effects on here are a flanger, a step flanger. I'll demonstrate that. And also for reverb, I'm using a shimmer, which I never use. So here's the flanger. Actually, no flanger. As you can hear, there's a slight delay going on in the background. That's always there. Step flanger. It's a set 2. You can change the note division of the step, so it can go faster, slower. I do have the delay somewhat offset, so the delay is a dotted eighth. Just so, because if it's a kind of even note division, whether it be an eighth or a quarter or whatever, it gets lost. It ends up going on the same tempo or same kind of movement that the flanger does, and it just makes the flanger sound weird. All right, let's move on to the shimmer reverb. Everybody knows this sound, right? Now, I've never used this sound in a video or a jam, so that's why I'm giving myself the opportunity to do it. I do use Eventide crystals, but I have that crystal-y sound on the low end. It's the opposite. Unfortunately, you can't do that with this, but it's nice, the little thing, and you know, the little kind of organ-y pad in the background. Let's add in the step flanger. Turn the compressor on. Just raise the volume because it's evening out the... Now, I don't know if you hear some of staticky clicking and stuff like that. This is, I mean, it's a modern precision, but it's based on the 60s specs. So it's shielded a little, but, you know, if I'm not grounding it somehow with my hand or a finger on something, you get a little buzzing, which can be cool with the step flanger because you can touch one of the poles. Get this kind of cool. So the static, the buzzing is going through the step flanger. All right, enough of that. All right, so kind of went a little more in depth on the GT1000 Core than I wanted, but as you can tell, a lot of capabilities, a lot of sounds, from kind of everyday bread and butter sounds all the way down to what we're going to do here, which is a little more ambient. So I'm going to start with everything off for the jam, and I'll just start with the delay sound, and then I'll kind of add everything in. Maybe play with the static depending and the buzzing, depending how bad it gets, but let's see what we can do with this. I'll keep that sound going in the background for no other reason than I'm amazed that these flatwound strings sustain so well. I'm sure a lot of that is the effects unit as well. But I hope in this video I was able to demonstrate the versatility of the GT1000Core, using it for everyday bread and butter sounds, chorus, phaser, delay, all the way through to those more ambient, the step flanger and the shimmer reverb. I never use shimmer reverb, it's overused, but I gave myself permission to use it just this once. But hopefully you could see I'm using the bass. This is not a bass specific effects unit. It does have some bass specific models in there for modulation and overdrive and distortion, and I didn't demonstrate a lot of the capabilities here to get kind of heavy with it, but I did want to show how you can just show up at a gig and kind of play whatever kind of music is and have some mild effects in the background if you want, all the way to using it as a centerpiece around creating that more ambient soundscape. Thanks for watching, thanks for listening, and good luck with your own music.